Hey guys, I'm hopping on here to answer your questions from the AMA video that I posted a couple of weeks back. It's been a second, but we are on break from the tour right now for a couple of days. We're at the Airbnb, so I've got time to sit down and answer as many questions as possible. Thank you to everybody who had questions. There were a lot of great ones, and I'm going to try to answer as many as I can. If you missed that video, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section on this video asking a question, and I'll be going through them and answering as many as I can here too. The tour has been super fun. I have a band with me. We've got dancers. We're doing the whole Elon album front to back and a couple of my older songs too. These are the remaining tour dates. So come out to a show, say hi. It's been super fun, and thanks to everybody who has been at the shows so far. We're about halfway through. But yeah, I'm just gonna jump right into it. I'm gonna start with the new album. I got a lot of questions about the Diary of Elon. Here's a couple. There's one, where are you going with this new album? I'm kind of lost. What motivated the subversive, edgy vibe on your new record? What life experiences birthed this album? It has a clearly more defined and loud message than your previous work. Are you drawing from your own experiences or just the general things you've seen? So this concept record, The Diary of Elon, I started writing probably 6-7 years ago. There were just a couple song ideas that I had mostly based on real experiences and like a lot of direct quotes from experiences that I had. And over time, I had a couple of those songs just kind of hanging out in the background. I didn't have, any immediate plan to release them. But then once I had the whole album written, I was like, okay, these are actually my experiences, and it's something I want to release under my own name. If you've listened to the record, the lyrics a lot of them are very like direct and blunt, and part of the reason for that is because so many of them are direct quotes and kind of the way that these things have been said to me in real life. And then I'm just taking those and kind of extrapolating, more words and kind of just blowing it up a little bit into something that I think is funny and a little dark, I also got a lot of questions about my live looping work, so I'm going to jump into a few of those. I love your live loops. Are you going to continue to make more? It would be awesome to see more of them. And yeah, with the live looping, so I love doing the live looping stuff, and it's been a big part of my career for the last 7-8 years. And I do think I'll go back to doing more after the album cycle. But yeah, I mean, even through the production and the live show that I'm doing now with the Elon project has, I've learned so much, even technologically, that I think with the live looping, I have all these ideas of, okay, I could do this better, or I have this idea for an arrangement. With my previous show, my last time I did a, US tour was 3 years ago. I did the whole, one girl band on stage looping setup. The difficulty there was that I don't write songs to be looped, except for a handful that, I start with a loop video, like See Through or the mashups or a couple others. So yeah, there's a part of me that's like, okay, I kind of want to try writing with the intention of looping it rather than having, a studio version and then making a loop version that's kind of, modified. I've never really approached writing from that angle, and I think there's something to be done there. But I'm also trying not to think too far ahead. I'm really focused on getting this album, out there and finishing the tour that I'm on right now. But I do have a feeling I will do some more live looping in the future. I'm curious what drummer influenced you most and what brand and sticks you use. So I use Vader drumsticks. I use my signature sticks, which are a Vader Manhattan 7A. To answer your first question, which drummer influenced me most, I'd have to say my 2 drum instructors growing up, because they, taught me everything I know and introduced me to the music that I was learning at that time. My first drum teacher was Dave Blackburn, and he introduced me to the Beatles, Steely Dan, Earth, Wind & Fire, Tower of Power, all these great groups that had fun drums to play. Because, at the time, I was 9-10 years old. I was just listening to top 40s, which at that time was Rihanna, Kesha, Justin Bieber. A lot of music was very digital at the time, so it wasn't stuff that I could really drum along to or learn the parts for. And so Dave introduced me to this whole world of music that I just had never heard before. Then my second drum teacher I took lessons from for years, Matt Lynott, he influenced my playing a lot too. He introduced me to Stuart Copeland's work, Buddy Rich, a couple other drummers. Just him as a drummer too. Like I stole a lot of like what he was doing, you know. I feel like that's kind of how it goes, you know. You learn from your teacher, and then you kind of take this, you take that, and just he has a very fluid way of playing that I think has really influenced the way I play now, like the types of fills he chooses. He taught me how to play in a way that supports the song, you know. And so I think as a songwriter that helped me a lot. And even now, like, I'm always learning on every instrument, like how to make them all work together as one unit of music. 5 songs that moved you as a youngster and perhaps started you on your path to being a musician. Okay, I'm gonna think like way back. The reason I picked up music at all, and I've said this in so many interviews, but is the song My Immortal by Evanescence. I heard that like intro piano part, and that made me want to learn piano. And so that's how I started taking classical lessons and got into it that way. And then from there, I started playing drums because of the game Rock Band. But like specifically the song on Rock Band that I loved playing was Danny California by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And so that, I would say, is like, those were the 2 songs that like really got me into those instruments. And then beyond that, like the music that my teachers that I mentioned earlier introduced me to. I remember Dave was teaching me how to transcribe drum parts by ear, and he showed me Black Cow by Steely Dan. And like when I first heard that song, because I was so used to hearing like only pop music at that age, I was like, this sounds weird, you know. Like to go your whole life listening to like just what's on the radio to hearing Black Cow by Steely Dan is kind of like jarring. And at first I was like, I hate this. But now like Steely Dan's one of my favorite bands, and I've listened to like a ton of their music. And but I would say, yeah, that song, like just sonically and like the chordal choices and stuff like that, it just kind of like planted that seed in my brain for what I liked to hear and how I would kind of continue on as a songwriter. Another song that comes to mind is Does Everyone Stare by The Police. And I think that is one of the songs that Stuart Copeland wrote on, like, within the, you know, Police discography. And I remember hearing that piano part and being like, oh, that's so cool. And like his chord choices and the rhythm that he's doing it. I think hearing another drummer's composition, it just kind of like clicked in my brain for some reason. When I hear, you know, songwriters who started on piano or guitar, like they kind of write a certain way, but then there's something about having drums be your primary instrument, and then the way you approach songwriting, I feel like, is affected by that. I just remember like sitting at the piano, learning that song, wanting to sing it, and wanting to get all those chords right. And like just that kind of rhythmic focus, like it's like rhythmically played piano. I know all piano is played rhythmically in some sense, but it felt, I don't know, struck me in a way that I loved listening to that song. I felt like compelled to learn it and play it. Another song that comes to mind is Roundabout by Yes. I remember I learned that and played it in a band when I was probably in my teens. And I just was playing the drum part, but I just thought that song sounded so cool. I listened to that like on repeat for years. They come from like a prog rock world, but that song is so catchy and like so beautifully written to me. I love music that's singable, but a little bit complex in a way that maybe you won't notice immediately on first listen. I saw this question and thought it was interesting because it was not even something I thought about until I read it. So it's, the number 4 is a recurring motif in your most recent music videos, 4 dancers in Little Blood, 4 different objects / dancers in All You Need Is Lust. Is there a significance or deep meanings to number 4? I do think that comes from being a drummer. Even before I was playing drums, I really liked the number 4 for some reason. I was always like counting in my head or counting steps and doing stuff like that. And then once I started playing drums, it's like, you know, 4/4, 4/4. Like it's just something that you learn to like ingrain into your body and your muscle memory. I think there's something also like visually pleasing about that. I guess 3 is cool too because it's like there's a center, but I like that with 4, there's no obvious focal point. If I'm thinking about the music video for All You Need Is Lust, that like opening sequence with the dancers all lined up, it feels like one unit of movement rather than having, like, say if you have 3, there's like a center and there's, you know, a kind of like symmetry to that. But 4 has like a different kind of symmetry that fills the space in a way that I like. Is the live radio show ever making a comeback? Highlight of my life back then. And why did you stop doing the stream of consciousness? So the reason I stopped doing the radio show was because the platform that I was using ended up like no longer being a platform. Would you ever bring it back? I guess I would. I haven't like really looked into where else to do that. But I had a lot of fun doing that too, and like going on there every week and like kind of prepping what songs, you know, I wanted to share, and then bringing people on the show and just like having conversations was something I enjoyed a lot. If you guys do have any suggestions for a good platform to do something like that on, let me know in the comments. I got one question about my sample pack saying, was your voice sampled in the song You Broke My Heart by Cobbs and Mila? And if so, did you know about that? For people who don't know about this, I have a splice pack that I released in 2020. And one sample from that, I don't know how it happened, but like on TikTok, it became really popular and people were calling it Heavenly Audio or Heavenly Sample or something like that. And then it ended up getting sampled in a bunch of different songs and like TV shows and stuff like that. I do know about it now. And I guess at the time I didn't know because it's a royalty-free sample. So it was just kind of being used in a couple different projects, which I think is pretty cool. So it's kind of cool hearing those songs and like hearing just like a, you know, like a little 4-second idea that I made used in so many different ways. I got a couple questions about touring. So I'm gonna jump into those. Are you envisioning something different for your tour performance-wise? I think the music videos being so theatrical is a cool touch. So yeah, the tour, I'm like halfway through it now, so the show exists. There is definitely a theatrical element to it in the live show, kind of in the same way that it is in the videos, but a little different, kind of hard to explain unless you come to a show. For the live show, like for the portion of it where we're performing the new album front to back, I'm, you know, in wig, in mustache, in suit, and I'm dancing, I'm front manning, I'm playing bass. We have 2 dancers and a band. So yeah, it's like even just that part of it is new for me. All the tours I've done in the past, I've just done the solo thing, looping or some tracks. So it's been, yeah, just a cool experience having this be like so vastly different from what I've done before. For me, the focal point of this album is the lyrical content and the message. And so I felt like the show needed to kind of support that, and having dancers and props and like costume changes and like everything going on, which is like kind of a crazy thing to do for, you know, we're playing like small to medium sized clubs. And so it's been interesting, like club to club, figuring out, okay, how are we gonna fit on this tiny stage, or we have a bigger stage now, like how are we gonna do that? So each night's a little bit of a different show, but yeah, we have little bits that we do and all these different, just like different visual elements to support each song. Here's another question about live shows. You played many great shows as a live looping artist. I imagine it to be quite exhausting being all alone on stage. Wouldn't you enjoy doing some shows with a band? I think like the way I look at it is like kind of pros and cons to both. What I love about the live looping is I can like infinitely rehearse. So, you know, before a live looping tour, I'm just in my studio rehearsing day and night and getting it, you know, exactly how I want it to be. And then with the band, there's a little bit more flexibility with what the arrangement can be, and also a little bit of a load off mentally, like while I'm on stage, because with the live looping, it's like if I make one mistake, it loops back forever. And so like there is like a certain level of stress with that with the band, it's like if someone makes a mistake, you just keep going, which is, you know, that's like normal for live music. But for years, you know, I've been doing the live looping stuff, so it's a little bit more, I don't know, scarier in a way. I love doing both, like they're just so different. But it's been cool on this tour to have a band with me. How much of what you perform live is improvisational? Has that changed over time? Why or why not? So with the live looping stuff, like when I'm doing a live looping show, it's pretty much 0% improvised, just because I have, like the way I'm doing live looping, I'm not using any pedals, I'm just using Ableton, and, you know, I have a click track, and all my loops are prearranged so that they cut in and out at the right times for the song structure. So I pretty much am like doing the exact same thing every night. I'm layering a drum part, a guitar part, piano part, bass part, and like just to make sure all those parts sound right together, I have them all, you know, prearranged and planned out in advance. When I'm, you know, playing on top of that, like say I'm singing or playing drums over the loop track that I've built, within that, I'll improvise a bit, you know, it's like do a different fill here or, you know, sing a different little line here. Now with the band, I am trying to stay as true to the album as possible. There's some improvisation, you know, especially for the musicians. There's moments where there's a guitar solo or a drum solo where they're, I'm sure, improvising. But the parts that I'm playing, like, yeah, I guess vocally I improvise a little bit here and there, but for the most part, I try to just like lock in and just do what's best for the song, like whatever that looks like. I would also say in general, I'm most comfortable improvising on drums just because that's like my primary instrument. That's where I'm most comfortable. So like say I go to a jam session, like I'm going to be trying to play drums because that's where I really feel comfortable just like thinking of ideas on the spot. With instruments like bass or guitar, I've spent most of my time writing on them or using them for loop arrangements and stuff like that. So I haven't, spent as much time improvising like melodically or harmonically there. But yeah, I guess like over time I've, you know, I loosen up a little bit on things and try different things out live. Favorite places to stop while on tour. So whenever I'm on tour, I always try to stop at Buc-ee's, of course. I feel like that's like every touring band's favorite place to go. There's something like kind of culty about it. But yeah, every tour I've been on, it's always like, there's a Buc-ee's, we have to stop now. So yeah, I always try to go there. I get the beaver nuggets. I'm like completely addicted to those, so I try to not buy too many. Yeah, and then like other than that, if there's like thrift stores, vintage stores, stuff like that, and just kind of see like what's different in different cities. Can we please get the album on vinyl outside the US, specifically the AU, but everywhere else would be great. Yeah, so I do want to quickly say that I will be opening my merch store after the tour. So right now, the vinyl and CDs, I think they're only shipping to the US, but typically I'm shipping my own merch out of my studio. So I just can't do that right now because I'm on the road. But I am planning on, like when I get back, opening my store. I'll have my drumsticks up there. I'll have the vinyl. I'll have CDs. And I normally do international shipping. So I'll be doing that in April. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching, and thanks again for all the great questions. If there's anything I didn't talk about that you'd like to know about, feel free to ask in the comment section on this video. I'll be monitoring for a few days and answering as many as I can. And if you guys have any suggestions for where I should stop on tour to eat or have vintage clothing sprees, let me know in the comment section as well. We're doing the West Coast run. We're playing Treefort in Boise. So yeah, come out to the shows. It's going to be super fun. And bye.